of Crimewatch Roadshow.
Good morning. It's the last day of an action-packed series, but we still need your help to stop criminals in their tracks. Coming up. The pensioner attacked in her home by a knife-wielding masked man.
I put in everything in my body into shaking this knife out of his hand until he dropped the knife.
Cracking down on counterfeits. We're with trading standards as they seize £1 million worth of dangerous fake goods.
It's like an Aladdin's cave. Michael Kors watches, GHD straighteners, and an awful lot of Apple chargers.
Seeing as we spend a lot of time trying to catch criminals, today I'll be finding out exactly what happens when they're taken into custody.
Live for the next 45 minutes, you're watching Crimewatch Roadshow. Hello and welcome to the very last programme in this series of Crimewatch Roadshow. Before we finish, let's see if we can catch a few more criminals. Also today, the dance school students whose cash and costumes were stolen in the dead of night.
Opened the boot and everything's vanished. All I did was scream. Words couldn't come out. I was just devastated.
The exotic eagles shot dead by an intruder at a bird sanctuary. And can you name this doorstep scammer?
That's okay.
Tricking her way into an 88-year-old man's home. Today, the team have reached Cardiff Bay, and Tina, I hear you're in a spot of bother. What's going on?
Rav, I'm at Cardiff Bay Police Station, one of the busiest in the UK. Every week, around 300 people will end up here in a custody suite. And this morning, I will be getting a real taste of what it's like to be banged up.
I just hope someone's got a key. But before all of that, police need your help to catch the masked man who forced his way into a woman's home at knife point. The village of Trinant near Pontypool in South Wales is home to Carol and Paul Tovey.
My husband and I have been married for 48 years and we've lived here since 1981. It is a lovely village, it's very quiet here and it's as if you are virtually in the country. The community does seem very safe, really. Everybody knows each other. It always has seemed a lovely place.
One morning back in March, before going to work, Carol was on her computer.
I was in the lounge and I opened up my laptop because I'd been designing a card for my husband's birthday and I wanted it to be special.
But a few minutes later, she was interrupted.
And I thought, oh, the devil's knocking on my door, you know, this time of the morning, because you don't normally get that early.
Peering through the window, Carol didn't recognise her visitor.
When I first looked out and saw him, I could see a red hat, and I thought, oh, this is a delivery van asking can they leave a parcel for next door.
But it wasn't the postman. As Carol opened her front door, a man wearing a red mask over his face pushed his way into the house.
All of a sudden, he put his hand in the air and could see this knife in his hand, which was, you know, you're not expecting that. At that point, I just felt, that's not coming anywhere near me.
67-year-old Carol bravely fought back, determined to disarm her attacker.
And I put in everything in my body into shaking this knife out of his hand until he dropped the knife.
The man picked up the blade and ran away. Carol grabbed her phone to call the police.
Carol was a victim of a horrendous act. The attacker was extremely shocked by the way that Carol reacted. She kept calm in the situation. To fight off that guy the way she did was absolutely phenomenal.
3 months on, Carol and Paul are trying to put this terrifying ordeal behind them.
I try not to dwell on it at all, but it is in your mind all the time.
I think you were very brave. This person, whoever he is, he's put her through hell. And it's something that you wouldn't expect to happen in your own home.
It's not a nice thing to go through at all, and I would hate to think of anybody else having to go through it.
A really frightening attack. Detective Cara Baffico from Gwent Police is with me. It's amazing that Carol fought back.
Yeah, the fact that she fought someone with a knife must have been extremely frightening for her.
And a very unusual crime, particularly in this quiet area of Wales. We can see a map of where the attack happened. Talk us through the location.
Trinant is a very peaceful, safe community. Very little crime happens in the area, and it's very unusual for something like this to happen there.
So what do we know about the suspect?
The suspect, the fact that he forced entry with a knife, means that the incident could have ended completely differently to the way it does. Carol has described him as being about 5'8" to 5'9" tall, medium build. He's wearing dark clothing. She described his voice as being fairly deep, with a local Welsh accent, and he was wearing a red mask.
And that red mask is really unusual. Carol described it as looking like a morph suit.
Yeah, we have something similar here. The slit marks in the mask so that he could look out, but obviously hiding his identification. So we're looking for anybody that's seen anybody in a red morph suit on the 31st of March 2017, about 8:30 in the morning. And obviously, you know, if they saw anyone acting suspiciously, to please contact us.
Thanks, Cara. If you can help, please get in touch. Rav.
Thanks, Tina. Now, detectives from the Met have asked us to make an urgent appeal. This 92-year-old woman was making her way along Hoxton Street in Hackney in East London when a man grabbed her bag from behind and dragged her along the road in a violent and shocking robbery. It happened just last Tuesday at around 2:30 p.m. These images show the horrific injuries the pensioner suffered. Detectives want your help to find this man, 28-year-old Sanchez Edwards, who they want to question about the robbery. This is him at 7 o'clock last night at Bethnal Green Underground Station. He's described as dangerous, so if you know where he is, just dial 999. Next, our final batch of criminals caught on CCTV, so watch carefully. The elderly man who owns this property recently had some maintenance work done to his home. Watch how one of the workmen comes to ask for payment from him for a second time.
You remember me? The boss in me back does a balance owed to the company.
Police say the pensioner was originally cold-called and pressured into having repair work done that wasn't needed. The man claims money is still owed to the company, but it's already been paid.
It's on the receipt clearance day. We're supposed to come back in 2 weeks. It's been 3 weeks. We haven't heard from you.
In fact, detectives say over £6,000 was obtained by fraudulently cashing cheques. Officers also want to speak to these two men who visited a month earlier to check on the work that police say was shoddy and unnecessary. Can you help name these men? We'd love to hear from you. What do we have here? These two blokes look like they desperately want to break into this flat, and they seem to have found a novel way to do it. Oh wait, no, a mop handle isn't going to work. I wonder what they'll try next. Yeah, that doesn't look like it's working either, does it? They've been here for over an hour, trying their luck, and finally they managed to break a pane of glass in the door and let themselves in. The police have already caught burglar number one, but they still need to get this man. He made off with more than £2,000 worth of valuables. If you recognise him,
then you know what to do.
If you know anyone caught on camera there, don't keep it to yourself. Call us for free on 08000 468 999. You can also text us on 63399. Text CW space and then your message. Text will be charged at your standard message rate, or send us an email. The address is cwr@bbc.co.uk.
Rav, I never thought I'd be in this position, being booked into custody at a police station. It's pretty daunting. Now, this is a real custody suite at the heart of Cardiff Bay Police Station. It's used when the main one is full. And here to talk me through the process is Inspector Adrian Snook. You've done this for real many times before. What's going to happen to me this morning?
Well, when you first brought in, the arresting officer would tell the custody sergeant why you've been arrested. And then the custody sergeant will explain to you your rights and entitlements while you're in custody, and also ask a lot of medical questions so we can treat any medical issues you might have whilst you're in custody.
I notice I'm being filmed. There are lots of cameras everywhere.
Yeah, that gives an openness and transparency to the custody process that in years gone by we haven't had.
And of course, every suspect is different, so you're having to make a lot of decisions.
That's right, we want to make sure we treat everybody in accordance with their own individual needs.
OK, so let's assume I'm well and cooperating. What happens to me now?
Well, then, when the officers would search you...
Right, let's do this. What are they looking for?
Any things like mobile phones, weapons, drugs, or anything that could be hurt or used to hurt staff or yourself.
OK, am I clear? Clear. Good. What happens next?
You then be taken through to the process room and have your fingerprints, photograph and DNA taken. OK,
Adrian, thank you very much. Time for my close-up. I'm having my mugshot taken in here. CDO Macaulay Jessup is here to do that. Right, what do I do?
Take a seat by there for me.
Talk me through what happens.
Firstly, we'll get the offender to come in, take a seat, explain to him what's happening, that the photograph, fingerprints and footprint impression is being taken, and he'll go onto a system, make sure they're not involved in any outstanding crimes. So if you look at the top circle for me, I'll take your picture. There you go, if you have a look on the screen.
I don't think you've got my best side there. Fingerprints next.
If you come up by here for me.
OK.
Just pass me your index four fingers. Right, they'll come back with a response shortly, and then we'll be able to confirm your identity and make sure you're not involved in any outstanding crimes. OK, thank you very much. Now, later on, it's not over there yet for me. Later on, I'll be breathalyzed and locked up as well. Rav.
Oh dear, Tina, it's not looking good. Right, lots more to come on the programme, including the fake workman who bullied Irona into handing over thousands of pounds.
I said, you haven't done the work. He said, I've done the job and you have to pay me for it.
And the police aid convoy, putting counterfeit clothing to good use in some of the world's poorest countries. Next, a cruel attack against two defenceless birds of prey. Last week, an intruder broke into the Festival Park Owl Sanctuary in Ebbw Vale, South Wales, and shot and killed two eagles. Their owner, Patricia Webb, is here now, along with Sergeant Neil Pigeon from Gwent Police, who's investigating the incident, and two of the beautiful other birds from the sanctuary. We've got Ellie and Bobby here. Patricia, if I start with you, they are such gorgeous animals, these birds of prey, so it's a shock to think that anyone would want to harm them.
Exactly. I mean, the two eagles that were killed, one was a steppe eagle from Russia, the other one was a tawny eagle from Africa, and one of them was a birthday present when Malcolm was 70.
Now, Malcolm's your partner. We can see a picture of him here, and it's worth saying Malcolm was actually invited onto the programme and he was too upset because of what happened.
Yes, that's right.
Understandably. So tell us what did happen then.
Well, we was at a horse show on the Saturday and we left the sanctuary 6:30 Friday night. They were fine then. But between that time, between that time, somebody actually climbed in over the fence and killed the birds.
And you discovered the birds. You had to get a vet to do a post-mortem and examine what happened to the birds. And what did the vet say?
The vet said that they had been shot, and we couldn't wait till the vet had done that before we could phone the police. And I'd like to add, the police and the general public have been absolutely fabulous.
Brilliant.
They've given us so much help.
Well, I'm pleased to hear
they're still doing it.
But of course, this must have been a massive shock to you to see this.
Yes.
Yeah, just awful.
Yes.
OK, Neil, you're investigating this matter. In the past on this show, we've heard about birds being poisoned or shot in the wild, but this and the way that it happened here is very, very unusual, surely.
Oh, it is, and the motive is unclear at this time. We suspect, because the birds have been targeted, the individual has walked into the compound, walked past 14 aviaries, up some steps, and shot the birds. And we believe the birds have been shot with an air weapon or air pistol.
OK, and so where this happened, someone has actually had to go past many, many other birds that seemingly have been ignored in order to target these two eagles and kill them in his case, which is just horrific. So how can viewers help, Neil?
Please come forward. We know the incident took place between 6:30 p.m. on the 30th of June and between 8 a.m. the 1st of July.
And you think this is the sort of thing that someone may have, in a twisted way, bragged about or spoken about, told their friends, and it's those friends that you want to hear from, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We know the location is close to a local shopping centre and someone must have seen or heard something that day.
OK, well, let's hope someone gets in touch and someone can help. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Tina.
Next, a major operation by trading standards and police to stop fake and even dangerous goods hitting our streets.
Big name brands, from phones to shoes. What do they all have in common? These are all counterfeits made by criminals who've cut corners to make a quick buck. They're usually very shoddily made, or worse. Much worse. This is a fake NutriBullet blender, exploding seconds after its blade got stuck. Many counterfeits, like these phone chargers or hair straighteners, are missing vital safety components found in the real thing, causing them to overheat and start fires. But who's supplying all these dodgy goods? Just before Christmas, police and trading standards officers hit the road to catch the counterfeiting criminals in the act.
Morning, guys. Thank you for all turning up.
It's 3 a.m. at a motorway service station on the M5 near Worcester. Rhys Harries briefs the team on their mission to stop a convoy of counterfeit goods making their way from the Midlands to Bristol.
We've identified a lot of vehicles which are in your briefing packs, all of which are pre-nailed on intelligence.
On the motorway, the police are lying in wait for any suspect vans. It's not long before the first one is pulled over, and trading standards move in to search it.
Similar, yeah. It's jam-packed full of footwear, and undoubtedly they're counterfeit.
Just to let you know, we found a load of counterfeit merchandise in the back of the van. It's a criminal offence under the Trademarks Act.
Soon, the car park fills up with vans, which the police have ordered off the motorway.
It was like an Aladdin's cave. Michael Kors watches, GHD straighteners, and an awful lot of Apple chargers. Big concern, really, as far as the safety is concerned. And it's really good to get it off the market.
In total, 5 vans packed with fake goods are seized and the drivers questioned.
I'm very pleased with what we've been able to take off the road today.
The operation was a massive success, but prosecuting those responsible will take time. Rhys Harries from Swansea Trading Standards, which led the operation, showed us some of their haul.
All right, so in here, this is the majority of the stock that was seized off the vans. There is over 70 different brands in here. There's shoes, handbags, perfumes, electrical items. Probably the total value that we estimated is about £1 million. All the different types of watches, Superdry, Armani. And what you may notice is that all of these watches aren't working. By buying one of these counterfeits, it may work in the short term, but quite shortly after, they're all stopped. we've got a lot of these, which are USB power adapters. As you can see, there's a sort of iPhone sort of plug. These, we've got some serious concerns over their safety.
To investigate further, the plugs are sent for a series of specialist safety tests.
Okay, so I'm just opening up the body of this charger, and this has the potential to be lethal. That's because this wiring here, which carries the mains voltage from the plug pins to the circuit board, is only single insulation.
The charger's plugged in to see what happens. It lasts just a few minutes.
No, it's gone. Yeah.
Next, a voltage breakdown test to see how the plug would cope with a surge in mains power.
This circuit board is inherently unsafe as it's allowing mains voltage to break down or pass over to the USB output socket, which means that either the socket itself or any cable that's attached to it or any metal-bodied phone that's attached to it could potentially become live in the event of using this charger.
Buying a fake may seem like a bargain and look like the real deal, but you could be putting your life at risk.
Well, joining me in the police interview room is Graham Mogg, a former police officer himself, who now works for a number of high-profile brands against the counterfeiters. Now, you were part of that operation we just saw.
Yes.
Is this problem getting worse?
Yes, it is. It's fair to say that the availability of counterfeit goods is on the increase, with thousands of goods entering the UK on a daily basis.
And there have been other operations since to target counterfeit goods, haven't there?
Yes, that's right. The anti-counterfeiting group and our members support police and trading standards across the country on a regular basis to remove these type of products off the street. In December alone, there was 120,000 counterfeit items seized.
You've brought some fake goods with you. How big is the difference between the fakes and the real thing? Let's start with these brake pads.
Yeah, it depends on the product. It's very difficult for a shopper to identify a counterfeit to a genuine item on occasions. These brake pads are obviously from a safety aspect. This one is fake because there's no grip on it at all. There's no friction. It's not going to stop a car if you apply the brakes.
They look the same, don't they? And
yes, they do.
What's this?
This is a bit of a twist on counterfeiting. So this is a garage service stamp. And we see now that people are selling these online, using them to put on the service stamp of cars. So when they sell the cars, it appears that they've got a full service history, when in fact they haven't.
And these boots look like the real deal.
Yes, they do. And I think people forget that the boots also have a safety aspect to it. So banned substances are used to actually colour the material, which could be harmful to the consumer.
OK, thank you. A clear warning on the dangers of buying fakes. And later we'll be seeing how safe counterfeit items are put to good use by actually helping people in less fortunate parts of the world.
Thank you, Tina. Well, it's not just fake goods that you have to watch out for. It's also scammers trying to rip people off on their doorsteps. But the police are using new techniques to try to catch these crooks in the act.
I felt threatened, intimidated, but I think he was used to that. I was nothing to him. I was just money.
Last summer, 69-year-old Irona Healy was returning to her Swansea home after meeting friends.
So as I was going to let myself in through the door, I looked up and there was a young gentleman coming down the drive and asked if I would like to have my drive and patios washed. He did seem quite genuinely nice. And I said, well, I'm thinking of it, so how much would you charge? And he said it would be £150. And I said, oh, that sounds reasonable. So I said, yes, OK, you can do that for £150.
But after agreeing the price, two other men suddenly appeared.
The two men followed me into the garage. And they said, how much did he quote you for doing this? I said, 150. And I said, oh, he's made a mistake. It's much more than that. And he said, it's £5,000. And I said, no, I can't pay that much. You know, I just can't. He said eventually 2,500 and they'd reline everything, it would look like new. And I said, OK. But he said, we got to have the money today.
Irona says she felt pressured to go to the bank to withdraw the cash. By the time she returned, she'd had second thoughts. But one of the men demanded she pay up.
But I said, you haven't done the work. They'd done nothing. The drive was exactly the same as it was. He said, we have. I said, no, you haven't. He said, I've done the job and you have to pay me for it. Yeah. I suddenly got afraid. I didn't feel that I had any choice but to give them the money. I just felt completely intimidated. I stayed in the garage for the next 2.5 hours, just in case they were still out there.
After the incident, South Wales Police's crime reduction team fitted a special security camera in Irona's home, designed to catch crooks in the act.
A memo cam is a concealed camera device. It's quite often disguised to look like an everyday household object. They'll keep targeting the same person. It makes it very difficult. We can't be there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the use of technology means that we can capture the images we need to prosecute people when they do return.
A few miles away, police fitted a device in the home of a vulnerable 88-year-old man who'd been repeatedly targeted by a gang of fraudsters. In December, the camera captured a visit from a young woman, claiming to be from his bank.
HSBC, that's a replacement. That's okay.
But the woman wasn't from the bank. After just 1 minute, she left. The man's bank card was later used to withdraw cash and make expensive purchases.
We believe that over a 2-year period, fraudsters have taken in excess of £13,500 from the victim. Female on the CCTV footage is white. She's aged between 18 to 30 years of age. She's 5'7", she's medium build, and she has dark shoulder length hair. We'd urge the public to come forward with any information and whether they know this female, because she is a person of interest for our investigation.
Just appalling. And the 88-year-old victim had thousands of pounds taken from his bank account over a 2-year period. Police think a gang was responsible and really want to speak to the woman you saw there in the CCTV who claimed to be from a bank. Now, if you know who she is, please do come forward. Well, joining me now is Tony Payne from South Wales Police's Crime Reduction Tactical Unit. Remind us again, Tony, of the first case in that film, Irona Daheley, who was subjected to that driveway cleaning scam in July last year. Who are you looking for?
We're looking for 3 tanned white males. The first one is described as being about 18 years of age. The second one has blonde hair of a muscular build and aged between 28 and 30. And the third is described as having brunette hair and of the same age.
We saw there you were using special hidden cameras fitted in the homes of vulnerable people. Why are they useful?
They provide reassurance for the victim, and of course, they help us provide the evidence of the offenders, because we're aware this type of criminal frequently calls back, and so it helps us get the evidence to catch the people responsible.
How successful have they been?
They've been very successful. As I say, we put them in when intelligence says somebody is likely to be targeted again, and they're very good.
What should people do if they're worried about themselves or if they're worried about another vulnerable person being targeted in this way? What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, they should report it using the 101 phone system, or in an emergency, 999. You have 14 days cancellation rights when people are cold calling. Give yourself time. Get a second opinion. There are organisations out there that can give you some advice. You can call Citizens Advice Bureau, Trading Standards,
Thank you very much, Tony. That's good advice from you. Remember, if you've been a victim of any crime, you can call Victim Support 0808 1689 111 is their number. Rav.
Thanks, Tina. Now let's look at these wanted faces. First up today is Abdul Ghani. Detectives would like to question him in connection with the sexual assault of a teenage girl in 2011. He's 31 and has links to Uxbridge, Southampton and Ivor in Buckinghamshire. Next, this smiling man is Hamza Hassan Saeed. Detectives want to question him in connection with the supply of Class A drugs across Oxford. The 24-year-old also has links to Ilford and Redbridge in Greater London. This here is Thomas Mongan. The 29-year-old is wanted for questioning after 5 burglaries at shops across southeast England, where the windows have been smashed and the tills snatched. Mongan has an Irish accent and links to traveller sites in Lewisham, Bromley and Orpington. And finally for today, this is Raphael Joseph Broder. Detectives would like to speak to him in connection to a case of blackmail and the breach of a restraining order. He's also wanted for failing to appear in court. He's 30 and originally from Poland and has a tattoo of the words Scyzoryk on his right arm and links to York and Selby. So if you know where any of these faces are, make sure you get in touch using the numbers on screen.
Now, one reason you might end up in a custody suite like this is if police think you've been driving under the influence of drink or drugs. Now, PC Liam Buttle is here with me from the Roads Policing Unit. A very good morning to you. You were about to test me.
Yes.
How would it work if you stopped me and you thought I've been drink driving?
If I thought you'd been drink driving, we do a screening test here on the roadside using this device. So I'll just set it up for you now. I'm going to put 21 years of age in. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to 21. I'm not going to argue with that.
What we need to do for you then is if you take a nice lungful of breath for
Okay.
me, seal them out from the tube and blow in there until I ask you to stop. That's lovely, thank you. What happened now, it'll show me that the sample's been taken.
Mm-hmm.
It'll analyse the breath that you've given me on there. And hopefully, very shortly, we should get some zeros on there. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed, 0. That's
There we
great,
are,
great
0.
stuff.
If you were unlucky enough, obviously that was positive.
Yeah.
What would happen, we'd bring you to the station here and then we'd use this machine
Right.
and get a further 2 samples of breath off you. And those are the 2 samples of breath that we used in court as evidence.
And that's more accurate.
That is a more accurate device, yes.
And the other test you're doing more and more of is drug testing for drivers as well. How does that work?
So we use the drug swipe for drugs.
Mhm.
So this is quite simple. We take this bit off here. We take some saliva from you. So we pop your
Okay,
tongue out
yeah.
for me, and we just swipe it on your tongue. It goes back into the device here.
Yeah.
And we would wait for 8 minutes. We did this one previously.
We
You
did.
can see that there's 2 red lines on the device there, which tells us that it's tested for cannabis and cocaine.
Yeah.
And if it was positive for either or both of those, you'd get a secondary red line that would come up onto the device. And at that point then, you'd be arrested and brought here so that we could take a sample of blood for you for analysis.
So the good news is I've passed both tests.
You have passed both tests with flying colours, yes.
OK, good. It's a pretty rough day in the office for me. I've had my fingerprints taken, I've been handcuffed, I've just been breathalyzed. What next?
I dread to think. Next, though, a sneaky theft which left a group of young dancers devastated. Lisa Clark runs a dance school in Cardiff.
Been running it now for nearly 22 years. It's quite full time, classes, evenings and weekends. The students work hard. They're all from all different areas of backgrounds. The parents pay a lot of money for their costumes, their competitions, their dance exams, you know, they all want their children to do very, very well.
Last Halloween, the dance school had raised funds to enter a competition. That night, Lisa parked her car outside her home and went to bed. But a few hours later, she was woken by a strange noise.
Woke up in the early hours of the morning, hears some rustling, clicking noises. So I checked, opened the curtains, couldn't see nothing whatsoever.
But CCTV did catch something. A man opening Lisa's car.
There was no damage to the car, so it looks as if the suspect has used some sort of electronic key fob to gain access to the car without the owner's permission.
The man stole a heavy box from the boot. Inside was £2,500 in cash, which belonged to the dance school. Valuable costumes, worth hundreds of pounds each, were also stolen. CCTV shows the man making several trips to the car. His final visit woke Lisa.
Then I hear the same noise again.
The man suddenly ran off.
That's when my husband got up and went to check the car.
But with no obvious sign of a break-in, Lisa's husband presumed everything was fine. The next morning, Lisa discovered the theft.
I've opened the boot and everything's vanished. All I did was scream. Words couldn't come out. I couldn't speak. All I kept on thinking was it was parents' hard work. Obviously, they saved so much to help their children. I was just devastated.
Well, if you know who stole the dance group's cash and costumes, please do get in touch. Police are also keen to trace this man as a potential witness. He cycled past Lisa's house just a couple of minutes before the theft and may have information. You can call us on the usual number, or you can also speak to Crime Stoppers anonymously. They're on 0800 555 111. Now, we saw earlier how police and trading standards teams around the country are regularly seizing counterfeit goods. And if you're wondering what happens to all those clothes and shoes with fake logos, well, my next guest puts them to good use. David Scott is the chairman of the National Police Aid Convoy, or NPAC. And David, we met you right back on the very first episode of this series of Crimewatch Roadshow. You were just about to go off to Zambia on a very special trip. You promised to come back. I know you only landed a few hours ago. How was it?
It was wonderful, thank you. The team and I went to Eastern Province in Zambia, 10 of us, to places called Manyazi and Mwapi, and very remote rural places.
Now, you were going out to deliver supplies.
Yes.
Lots of those were clothes. Yeah. We can actually see some lovely images of you giving out the clothes to people there. It must have been really, really gratefully received.
Very satisfying to see the end of it. It's a long process to get them there. It was very satisfying.
And to remind us, a lot of the clothing that you've got here was actually from criminal activity.
Yeah, it's either stolen or counterfeit goods, certified fit to travel out there, and then it's used as barter, it's used as payment for labour. It's never given away.
OK. I know that some children were particularly pleased with what you did for them, and so much so they actually wrote you a gorgeous song. We can see this now.
In the best clothes, these guys.
We thank you. We thank you. We thank you.
That must have been pretty moving for you, David.
Yes, it was. Unexpected, written for us. It was very touching.
Because these people, they have nothing, do they? So they must have been so grateful that you were able to give them something.
Grateful for the school equipment, grateful for the clothing, for the men to labour, to dig the toilets and things like that.
And to remind us, they aren't just given anything.
No.
There's a way that they have to earn it.
It has to be earned. The local committee, the local PTA, will engage people to do it. These clothes take on a value far more than they do here. A man will labour all day digging latrines and things for a pair of trainers for his son to go to school.
That's
absolutely
fantastic. Wonderful. OK, well, let's. You've got an appeal for us as well that you want to make for something else that you'd like people to donate.
Yes, thank you. We have another little aside that it's called the Cinderella Project, appealing for once-worn wedding dresses or sample wedding dresses to inspire girls to go to the clinic, to go to the places where they will work on them and borrow one if they want one to wear for a special day. Girls who've never seen a white wedding dress before. It's an inspirational project.
So to inspire them as well, and just it doesn't have to be a wedding dress. If it's a big ball gown or something like that,
a ball gown, a prom dress, mother of the bride dresses. These girls would love to work on them.
OK, so you've got details of that on the NPAC website, so people can see how they can donate these dresses and help lots of people out there. David, thank you so much for coming back.
My pleasure.
And seeing us today.
Thank you.
Right now, let's go back to Tina, who's still in the slammer.
Yeah, this is my cell area in the police custody suite. I think my breakfast has just arrived. OK, here it is. There are cameras everywhere. There's one up there. Hello. My loo is on the right, an uncomfortable-looking bed down here. It's a pretty cosy room. Inspector Adrian Snook is with me again. Adrian, what have I got here?
Well, that's one of our most popular dishes, the all-day breakfast. Sausages, beans and potatoes.
It doesn't look that appetising, if I'm honest.
I think you'd be a bit disappointed if you served in a hotel, but we don't have many complaints and it keeps people full when they're in custody.
It must be a logistical nightmare having to feed all the suspects that come in.
Yeah, well, we keep big stock of food. It doesn't have to be refrigerated in this long life, and we make sure we cater for everybody's religious and dietary requirements.
OK, I suppose I should have a bit of a taste here. Not the best. Anyway, let's move on from the food. What else do you do before I come into here?
Well, after the sergeant's asking you the additional questions about your health and well-being, if it's deemed that you might be a risk to yourself, put you in a RIP suit to prevent you from harming yourself whilst you're in the cell.
That looks pretty sturdy. OK, and this is my bed. Doesn't look very comfortable.
Again, we don't get too many complaints, and we can provide you a blanket if you need it.
OK, let's tuck into my breakfast. Rav, shall I save you some?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Tina. Time now for our last look at what's been coming in on the calls, texts and emails. And there's been yet another arrest. This is one of our wanted faces that we've featured. A man was wanted in connection with a shooting and has now been charged, and he's currently being held on remand. And you may remember we asked for your help after Sally Hawkins was one of 16 victims of a serial sex offender who was exposing himself to women in Dorset. Well, you've given police some names, and officers say they're chasing up potentially strong leads. Great news there. Well, that's almost the end of the road for this series of Crimewatch Roadshow, and it has been an action-packed month.
Hello.
Good morning and welcome to a brand new series of Crimewatch Roadshow. Even the smallest microscopic clues can make all the difference.
So how they turn pups like this little one into professional police dogs. OK, I stalled it.
Now, you've brought in some items here which are clearly not going to be stolen by joyriders.
This is a very different type of shower, isn't it, Steve?
Very different shower.
I'm good at brushing, to put you back into it.
These, I would say, are definitely some of the cutest guests that we've had on this series. Wait, we're talking.
That was quick.
The cutest new additions to the police dog unit.
Bit of a tight squeeze, Jim, isn't it?
Get her.
Stop fighting the dog.
I would not want to be someone who Olaf is chasing.
Turn around and face the wall.
Let's see what she can do.
Head up, keep her head up, keep her head up.
Some very special guests are wheeling their way into the studio. What a month. Tina, I can see they've finally let you out, but you and Michelle have certainly clocked up some mileage, haven't you?
Yes, I've been released, and yes, we have travelled the length and breadth of the country working with almost every police force. I have to say, the most memorable moment for me was being bitten by police dog Olaf. That's a story to remember. But we've also shown more than 200 really crucial appeals with arrests on crimes including robbery, kidnap and arson. Thanks to you. Keep them coming.
Thank you, Tina. And thank you for all your calls during the series. They really do make all the difference, and you'll still be able to see lots more of our appeals online. Our website and phone lines will remain open for the next fortnight. But I'm afraid that's everything for this series. We're going to leave you with a final look at this morning's wanted faces. If any of them look familiar to you, you know what to do. Until next time, that's goodbye from everyone here.
Like today, solar panels that can give you hot water.